To begin with, the fallout from the two mass shootings in the United States. President Donald Trump there has declared hate has no place in America as the country grapples with these mass shootings. It began with what police are now calling a case of domestic terrorism when a 21-year-old opened fire at a shopping centre in El Paso, Texas. And then just 13 hours later, a 24-year-old man shot 9 people, including his sister, in Dayton, Ohio.
Two communities in mourning following a pair of violent attacks this weekend that killed nearly 30 people.
Shots fired! Downtown, one more shot fired!
In Dayton, Ohio, an overnight attack at a popular nightclub killed 9 people and injured 27 others.
People just started running. They started pushing us out the back door into the alley out the back.
The mayor says authorities responded quickly and killed the 24-year-old gunman less than a minute after he began firing.
He had additional magazines, and he was wearing body armor.
13 hours earlier and 1,600 miles away in El Paso, a community already reeling with a tragedy of their own. A 21-year-old suspect gunned down shoppers at a Walmart, killing 20 and injuring more than 24 others.
The injuries that we saw here were very, very significant injuries.
Authorities are looking into a racist and anti-immigrant document posted online that's believed to be written by the shooter. Prosecutors say the massacre is being treated as domestic terrorism.
The state charge is capital murder, and so he is eligible for the death penalty. We will seek the death penalty.
Hate has no place in our country, and we're going to take care of it. I spoke with Attorney General Bill Barr at length. I spoke to Christopher Wray, Director of the FBI. Spoke to the governors, both governors. And we're doing a lot of work. A lot of people are working right now, a lot of law enforcement people and others. Spoke to members of Congress about whatever we can do, and a lot of things are being done right now as we speak.
So what more is known about these shooters? We're talking about 2 separate incidents here, and as you would imagine, plenty of political reaction in the United States following all of this as well. Earlier I spoke to CNN correspondent Camilla Bernal, who is in El Paso, Texas. Camilla, thank you very much for your time. Let's start with what's happened there in El Paso. What is now known about the shooter and about his motivations?
Well, look, right now authorities giving us a little bit more insight in terms of what happened at the time of the arrest. Authorities saying that he was arrested here at this Walmart. He was actually at the parking lot, and authorities approached his car. He was parked, and he came out of the car and surrendered to authorities and was arrested without any incident. He's now facing a capital murder charge, but he's also facing hate crime charges, and he's facing domestic terrorism charges. And this is because of the fact that they're tying him to some social media posts, to something that authorities are saying is a manifesto written by him that had racist comments, that had white nationalist comments, and many other things against the Mexican-American community and Mexicans in the United States. So they are putting this sort of together and getting some answers as to the motive. But of course, officials not giving us details, not giving us an exact motive, just saying that they are investigating this manifesto. They're also saying that he's speaking to authorities. So that is also a good sign as to getting a motive and to getting to a place where we understand why he did this.
And look, a lot of those posts you refer to there, this so-called manifesto, does involve a lot of anti-immigration sentiment. What's been the reaction there and also from Donald Trump after this all came to light?
Well, President Donald Trump did speak on this issue today, and he talked about how devastating and how horrible this was. He's also been tweeting and condemning the act, saying this is just something that should not happen. He's also been saying that we need to work on this. He specifically said that something more needs to be done. And he also put some sort of focus into the mental health concerns in this country and the mental health awareness and education, and putting efforts into that sort of aspect of the argument. So it is difficult. A lot of politicians in Washington, D.C. share the same opinion as to this is a terrible tragedy. Something needs to be done. And in terms of what to do, there's sort of some differences depending on what side of the aisle you land on. So, of course, a lot of Republicans saying that we need to work on mental issues. That is what the governor of the state, Governor Greg Abbott, is saying. He's saying that is where the money and resources need to go. And then there are others on the other side of the aisle who are saying that there needs to be universal background checks, more gun control in this country, and who say this is also tied to a lot of the rhetoric that we've been seeing in this country. So just two sides with different points of views, but also agreeing that this is just something tragic that should not happen again.
Well, the other shooting, of course, that happened within 24 hours, the one in Dayton, Ohio, where 9 were killed in a bar. Is there any suggestion mental health issues were at play in either of these shootings?
We do not have a motive for the Ohio shooting, and so this one we have more of a motive, but authorities have not specified what the mental health conditions of these two shooters were, so we don't necessarily know, and we can't judge, we can't say yet until authorities officially tell us if there are any health concerns in terms of both of these shooters. Now, the shooter in Ohio, he was killed by police, so that is going to be a lot more difficult to prove and to investigate and to evaluate, because that person is no longer here, whereas in the shooter here in El Paso, he is alive. He is in prison right now, being held without bond. But there is the possibility of interviewing him, of getting more information from him. But there is also the possibility of a death penalty. We are in the state of Texas where that is on the table. Federal officials also saying that the death penalty on their side, on the federal side, is also on the table. They're saying they're going to treat this as a domestic terrorism case, and they're saying just as any other terrorism case, they're going to deliver justice. So that is the promise from authorities here in the United States.
Look, as you may be aware, in Australia we have very strict gun controls, and many viewers here are puzzled every time we see these mass shootings in the United States as to why they don't prompt a tougher action there. I note that President Trump has said that perhaps more does need to be done when it comes to gun control. Is there an expectation that there will be more done?
You know, we saw Florida, we saw Parkland, and we saw the state of Florida doing more after that shooting. So I think there is a possibility, there's definitely a possibility for the states to individually do more. States that are affected by this, like it was the case in Florida, there is the possibility for something to happen here in the state of Texas, but it depends. It depends on the politicians, not just at the federal level, but also at the state level. So I think this is a conversation that is going to remain ongoing in places like Texas, Ohio, like Florida, all of these places that have been affected by these mass shootings, and even in places that have not been affected, because this is something that has touched the entire country. This is something that people woke up to this morning and were horrified to see almost 30 people killed in this country within just 13 hours of each other. And so more and more of these are happening. So it is definitely something that Americans will have to talk about, that we'll have to vote on, and that we'll have to continue to try to figure out exactly what to do and what is the right solution so that this does not happen again.
All right, CNN correspondent Camila Bernal joining us from El Paso. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.